There's a kind of heartbreak that doesn't just break you, it wakes you. You thought he was meant to be your forever, but sometimes forever is just the lesson, not the person. It hurts, I know. You replay the moments, the laughter, the promises, trying to make sense of how something that felt so real could end. But healing begins when you understand not everyone who touches your heart is meant to stay. Some are only meant to show you how strong, how loving, and how resilient you really are. Not everyone who walks into your life is meant to stay, and that truth can feel like the hardest one to accept. When someone enters your world and makes your heart come alive, it's natural to believe they're meant to be part of your story forever. You start building dreams around them, not just about love, but about a shared future, shared moments, shared meanings. You start to weave them into your identity, into your idea of happiness, and then, when they leave, it feels like the whole story collapses. But here's what most of us forget. Not every character in your story is meant to be permanent. Some people are meant to appear for a few chapters, not the whole book. Their purpose isn't to stay, but to shift something inside you. Think about it, every person you've met has changed you, even in small ways. The one who hurt you taught you boundaries. The one who disappointed you taught you to stop lowering your standards. The one who left taught you strength. It doesn't mean they were the wrong person. It means they were the necessary person for that moment. They came to awaken something in you that couldn't have been unlocked any other way. Sometimes that's self-worth. Sometimes it's clarity. Sometimes it's simply the courage to stop accepting less than you deserve. When you stop seeing every connection as a forever and start seeing it as an experience, everything changes. You stop grasping so tightly at what's leaving and start asking, what was I meant to learn from this? Because when someone's purpose in your life is fulfilled, no amount of effort or holding on can keep them there. And that's not rejection, it's redirection. It's life moving you forward, even if it hurts in the moment. We often try to turn temporary people into permanent fixtures. We romanticize potential. We tell ourselves stories that start with maybe one day if only he realized . But healing begins when you stop chasing what was never meant to stay and start trusting. What's meant for you will never require you to beg for it. You can't force permanence where there's only meant to be presence. You can't hold on to someone whose role in your journey has already been played out. When it's time for them to go, it's because their part in your growth has been completed, and now it's time for yours to begin. Letting go doesn't mean you didn't care or that the love wasn't real. It simply means you're accepting that their chapter has ended. You're not erasing the memories, you're just releasing the attachment to what can no longer grow, because love, when it's healthy, expands you. But when it becomes about trying to hold on to what's already drifting away, it starts to shrink you. You start losing your peace, your clarity, your sense of self, all because you're trying to make something last that was only ever meant to teach. When you finally accept that not everyone is meant to stay, you start to breathe differently. You stop blaming yourself for what ended, and you start appreciating what it gave you. You realize that every heartbreak wasn't a punishment, it was preparation. It was shaping you, building you, strengthening you for the person and the peace that's still ahead. The truth is, some people come into your life like a spark, beautiful, intense, unforgettable, but not meant to burn forever. They come to remind you that you can feel deeply, love fully, and still stand strong when it's over. And when you let them go with gratitude instead of resentment, you reclaim your heart, you begin to heal. Because the goal isn't to make everyone stay, it's to learn from everyone who came. Letting go doesn't mean it didn't matter. That's one of the biggest lies we tell ourselves when something ends, that if we move on, it must mean we didn't really care, or that the love wasn't real. But that couldn't be further from the truth. Letting go is not erasing the past, It's simply acknowledging that the story has reached its natural conclusion. It's understanding that love can be real, meaningful, and still not meant to last forever. The heart has this beautiful but painful ability to hold on to what once was, even when it's no longer right for us. We cling to memories, moments, and promises because they made us feel alive, but the danger is in believing that holding on keeps it real, when in fact, acceptance is what honors it the most. You can love someone deeply and still recognize that they aren't good for your peace anymore. You can cherish what you shared while understanding that it's time to stop trying to revive something that's already had its time. Healing doesn't mean forgetting. It means remembering without breaking. It means being grateful for what it taught you without needing to recreate it. When we refuse to let go, we often do it because we think we're protecting the love, but love doesn't need to be protected. It just needs to be respected for what it was. And respect sometimes looks like saying, I appreciate what you brought into my life, but I can't keep losing myself trying to hold on to you. There's courage in closing a chapter. There's strength in saying, it mattered, but it's over, because letting go isn't betrayal, it's acceptance. It's choosing to honor the experience without forcing it to continue. It's realizing that no matter how beautiful a moment was, it can't stay alive through pain or force. The truth is, we often confuse holding on with love and letting go with giving up. But the bravest people are the ones who can release what they love, because they know peace is worth more than the illusion of connection. When you keep revisiting what's gone, you stop yourself from stepping into what's next. You stay emotionally tied to a version of yourself that existed when they were still there. But life doesn't wait for you to be ready. It keeps moving, and it's up to you to move with it. The love you felt, the memories you shared, they were real. They mattered, but their purpose was never to be your forever. It was to remind you what your heart is capable of feeling. That love showed you what you want, what you deserve, and what you can't accept anymore. That's the gift, not the person, but the growth that came from loving them. So when you let go, do it with softness, not resentment. You don't have to hate them to move on. You don't have to erase everything to heal. You can keep the memories, but stop living inside them. You can love what it was without needing it to be again. Because peace isn't found in rewriting the past. It's found in trusting that what ended did so for a reason. The love mattered, the lessons mattered, you mattered. And when you finally stop holding on out of fear of losing it, you realize you never lost anything at all. You gained wisdom, you gained clarity, you gained a deeper understanding of what your heart needs. Letting go doesn't mean it didn't matter. It means it mattered enough for you to finally give it the closure it deserves. Healing really begins the moment you stop trying to rewrite a past that's already written. So often, after someone leaves, we live in a loop of asterisk, what ifs asterisk. What if I had said this differently? What if I had tried harder? What if he had just seen my worth? Those questions become a trap because they keep you anchored to a version of the past that no longer exists. You can't heal while trying to edit old memories. You can't move forward while replaying scenes that have already ended. The truth is, no amount of analysis or reflection will change what happened, but it can change what you take from it. When we love deeply, we want to make sense of the ending. Our minds crave closure, logic, an explanation that makes the pain easier to bear. But sometimes there isn't one that will satisfy you. Sometimes it just ended because it wasn't meant to continue. Maybe timing was wrong. Maybe growth took you in different directions. Maybe he didn't have the capacity to love the way you needed to be loved. Whatever the reason, rewriting it in your mind doesn't bring peace. It only keeps you stuck in the story. The shift happens when you stop asking asterisk, why didn't it work? Asterisk, and start asking asterisk, what did it teach me? Asterisk, that's when healing starts to unfold. Because when you look at the relationship through the lens of learning, not loss, you begin to reclaim your power. Every experience, even the painful ones, carries a lesson. Maybe it showed you how much you give. Maybe it revealed your patterns, how you settle, how you attach, how you love without boundaries. That awareness is gold. It's what allows you to evolve into someone who won't repeat the same story again. We often think closure comes from understanding the other person, but true closure comes from understanding yourself. It's realizing you don't need to rewrite the past, you just need to extract the truth from it. The past doesn't change, but your relationship with it does. When you finally stop trying to make it look prettier than it was, you can start to see it clearly. You see the red flags you ignored, the intuition you silenced, the effort you gave that wasn't matched. And while that realization may sting, it's also freeing, because now you know better. You know what to protect next time. You know what kind of love you won't settle for again. There's something powerful about accepting that not every love story is meant to end with forever. Some are meant to wake you up, not walk with you, and when you accept that, you begin to release the need to rewrite the past, because you see that the ending wasn't the failure. It was the moment you were meant to step into the next version of yourself, the one who's wiser, stronger, softer, and more grounded in her worth. Letting go of rewriting means letting go of control. It means saying, this happened, it hurt, it taught me, and now I'm moving forward. That's where peace lies, not in understanding every reason, but in accepting that you don't need to. You survived it, you felt it, you grew from it, that's enough. The story doesn't need a better ending because you are the better ending. You are the continuation of what was once pain, now turned into wisdom. So stop editing the past and start writing your next chapter. You've carried the lessons long enough, now it's time to live them. What's done is done. The only question left is, what will you do with the version of yourself that all that pain helped create? Pain is not proof that you've failed, it's proof that you've loved. So many people equate heartbreak with weakness, as if being broken means you did something wrong. But that's not true. The fact that you're hurting right now only means that you cared deeply, that you showed up with your whole heart, that you were brave enough to love, even when you didn't know how it would end. Pain isn't the enemy. It's the evidence that you risked connection, that you were willing to open yourself to something real. And that willingness is not something to be ashamed of, it's something to honor. You see, we often judge our pain like it's a sign that something went wrong. We think, if it hurts this much, I must have messed up. Maybe I should have seen the signs earlier, maybe I shouldn't have fallen so fast. But pain doesn't mean you did it wrong. It means you allowed yourself to feel fully. It means you weren't numb. It means you believed in love enough to try. And isn't that what makes us human? To give, to trust, to hope, even when we know there's a chance we could lose. The people who never feel pain are the ones who never let anyone close enough to touch their hearts. But you did. That's strength, not weakness. The goal isn't to never feel pain. It's to learn how to move through it without letting it harden you. Because pain is part of love's process, not its opposite. It's what shapes empathy, what builds compassion, what deepens your understanding of yourself. The hurt you feel is a reminder of your depth, not your defeat, but the key is to not live in that pain forever. Feel it, but don't build a home there. You're allowed to miss someone and still move on. You're allowed to grieve the love and still choose peace. You can hold gratitude for what was and still accept that it's over. Healing doesn't mean pretending you don't feel anything. It means allowing the pain to exist, but refusing to let it define you. Pain often makes you think you've lost something, but what if you've actually gained something far more valuable? Every heartbreak gives you insight into who you are. It shows you your boundaries, your capacity to love, your resilience. It reveals what you need and what you'll never settle for again. It strips away illusions and replaces them with truth. You start to see love differently, not as something you chase, but as something that meets you halfway. You begin to understand that real love doesn't take your peace to prove it's passionate. It doesn't make you question your worth to feel alive. You didn't lose because it ended. You lost nothing of value by walking away from someone who couldn't stay. The pain you feel isn't a reflection of what you lack, it's a reflection of how much you gave. And that's something to be proud of. Because even though your heart broke, it didn't close. You're still capable of love. You're still open. That's your victory. That's what makes you strong. So when it hurts, don't rush to get rid of the pain. Sit with it, let it teach you what it's trying to show you. It's not there to punish you. It's there to transform you. And one day, you'll look back and realize that the pain you thought was breaking you was actually rebuilding you. It was clearing space for something purer, calmer, truer. Because pain is not the end of love. It's the bridge that leads you to a deeper kind of peace. Healing is not about him, it's about you. That's one of the most powerful realizations you'll ever have after heartbreak. For so long, you wait for something outside of you to make you feel better, a message, an apology, an explanation. You tell yourself that once he finally acknowledges what he did, or once he sees your worth, you'll be able to move on. But healing doesn't come from what he does or doesn't do. It begins the moment you stop making him responsible for your peace. It begins when you realize that closure isn't something he gives you, it's something you create within yourself. You can spend years waiting for someone to come back and make things right, but every day you do, you're giving away your power. You're allowing your emotional state to depend on someone who's already chosen not to stay, and that's not healing, that's self-abandonment. Real healing happens when you start focusing inward, not outward, when you stop asking, why did he leave, and start asking, what do I need to rebuild within myself? It's shifting the focus from him to you, your growth, your boundaries, your lessons. When you tie your healing to someone else's actions, you're essentially saying your peace has a price tag and he owns it. But when you take it back, when you decide, I'm not waiting for him to fix the pain he caused, that's when freedom begins. Because healing isn't about justice. It's about liberation. It's not about making sure he understands what he lost. It's about making sure you understand what you've found * yourself. * you can forgive him without hearing I'm sorry. You can let go without getting answers. You can find peace without him realizing the damage he caused. Because peace isn't about what he knows. It's about what you choose. The moment you stop needing his acknowledgement is the moment you reclaim your emotional independence. You stop chasing validation and start giving it to yourself. You stop seeing yourself as the one who was left and start seeing yourself as the one who outgrew what no longer served you. Healing doesn't mean pretending it didn't hurt. It doesn't mean you don't miss him. It means you stop letting that hurt run your life. It means you stop replaying the story where he holds all the power. Instead, you start writing a new one where you're the main character, not the one waiting on the sidelines. You start nurturing yourself the way you once hoped he would. You start rebuilding your confidence, your joy, your self-worth, piece by piece, moment by moment. The truth is, when you depend on someone else for closure, you'll always be waiting. Because even if he comes back, even if he apologizes, it won't heal what's broken inside until you decide to. Words can't fill the silence you've been sitting in. Apologies can't erase the nights you cried yourself to sleep. Only you can choose to stop reliving the pain and start creating something new from it. Healing is a personal choice. It's a decision to stop defining your worth by someone else's inability to see it. It's deciding that your peace matters more than your pride, that your growth matters more than their guilt. When you make that shift, you stop being the victim of your story and start becoming the author of your comeback. So no, healing isn't about him realizing your value. It's about you realizing it never left. It's about remembering that your happiness, your calm, your confidence. They were always yours. He might have dimmed them for a while, but he never destroyed them. And now, as you heal, you're not just getting over him, you're coming home to yourself. One day, you'll look back and thank the ending, not because it was easy, but because it made you stronger, wiser, and more aligned with yourself. Heartbreak has a way of making us feel like we've lost everything, like the world has shifted and will never be whole again. But the truth is, every ending has a purpose. Every goodbye, every heartbreak, every person who wasn't meant to stay was shaping you, preparing you, creating space for the person and the life you are meant to embrace. And while it may take months, sometimes years, to see it, the day will come when clarity hits and you realize that what you once thought was a loss was actually a turning point. It's hard to understand in the middle of pain, when you're crying at night, replaying conversations, holding on to what could have been. It feels like there's nothing to gain. The world seems smaller, darker, lonelier, but the people who leave, the relationships that end, the love that wasn't meant to last, they are not the reason your heart is broken. They are the reason your heart is learning. They are the catalysts for your growth. And once you embrace that truth, the narrative shifts. Instead of being someone who has been abandoned, you become someone who has learned how to navigate love, loss, and life with wisdom and grace. One of the hardest parts of heartbreak is seeing your life without them. It feels unnatural at first. Your routines, your thoughts, even your identity may have been wrapped around that person. Letting go feels like stepping into a void. But that void isn't empty, it's space. Space for self, discovery, for peace, for a new kind of love. Space to rebuild yourself from the ground up, to reconnect with the parts of you that were quieted or compromised while you were trying to make someone else's presence permanent. In that space, you learn that your happiness doesn't depend on anyone else. It comes from within, from the way you treat yourself, the boundaries you set, and the love you cultivate for yourself. There's a quiet joy that comes when you start to see the ending as a gift rather than a punishment. The heartbreak that once felt unbearable becomes a marker of your resilience. You begin to notice the lessons that were hidden in the pain, the boundaries you now understand, the values you won't compromise, the self-respect you reclaimed. You realize that the love you gave wasn't wasted, it was preparation. It prepared you to recognize the kind of love that will honor you, support you, and allow you to grow rather than shrink. In time, the memories that once hurt you will lose their sting. They won't vanish, nor should they, but they will become part of your story, not the definition of it. The person who left may have shaped a chapter of your life, but they do not define the rest of your story. And that realization is liberating. You understand that every ending has a reason, every heartbreak a purpose, and every person who wasn't meant to stay was creating the path for what truly belongs in your life. Eventually, gratitude replaces grief. You'll thank the ending because it forced you to rise. You'll recognize that the heartbreak you once feared would destroy you actually revealed your strength. And in that moment, you'll see that the pain wasn't the point, the growth was. The clarity, the resilience, the self-love, the wisdom you gained, that's the gift. One day, you'll smile not because you forgot, but because you finally understand he was never meant to stay and you were always meant to thrive. Letting go isn't about giving up. It's about choosing yourself. He may not have been meant to stay, but that doesn't diminish the love you gave or the lessons you learned. Healing isn't found in holding on. It's found in reclaiming your peace, your strength, and your life. And when you do, you'll realize that the ending you feared was actually the beginning of your greatest chapter.